Hello everybody, welcome back to the T38 build series. I think this is video 4 now. Videos 3, parts 1 and 2 are probably still uploading. My internet is horrendously slow, especially in the evenings. So anyway, here you see we got the vertical stab to the T38, and you can pretty much see here we have a row of rivets, got some panel lines around, couple doubler patches, some little lumps, bumps up here. We got some screws and whatnot. So this has been sanded down all the way to 320 and is really smooth. And now it's at the point of doing what I'm going to term the, I don't know, I guess we'll just call it the wavy finish. So how do we get the wavy finish? I showed it to you on the rudder, which after finishing the rudder, as is typically the way, I found pictures that showed no rivets whatsoever except for a row at the very beginning and then a panel line right behind it. So the rudder got sanded completely bare again, and I've now got primer on that drying. And now we're here at the rudder, or the vertical stab, I'm sorry. The vertical stab is one of those things where you can definitely see rivet rows on it. So here I am, got the rivet rows, panel lines. All of the surface detail for this was done on a vinyl cutter, which surprisingly they're really inexpensive. You can pick up a whole machine software and a couple of dozen different colors and everything for a couple of $100 depending on the size you want. I think mine's a 30-inch machine and it was like $300 with a whole lot of other things to go with it. So they're not overly expensive. You can do stuff like this. This is all figured out in SolidWorks. I just took the vertical stabilizer, put it as a background, and then I took a 3-view that had all of the structural locations for the T38, overlaid that, blew it up to fit, and then just started drawing lines and just did linear sketch patterns to do all this, all these rivet rows and panel lines and everything. So that's how I came up with this. Everything was designed in SolidWorks, and then the actual parts are cut away from the airplane, and then depending on the lengths, they're sectioned, each individual part. So like the vertical stab here, right where the top of the rudder would be, this was cut all the way across. That way this part could be built flat, and then everything up here could be built flat on the build plate with no support structure or anything. And then I've got fiberglass rods that run the span of the part to align them and also keep them from warping. So that's how I did that. If you guys are interested, I can bring up the computer and try and get a decent video of all the CAD data. But I'm not going to bore you guys with that. It's a lot of stuff. So anyway, back to the wavy finish. Like I said, all the rivet rows, everything are already laid out, panel lines. I've got this orange 1/4-inch masking tape. It's just the regular masking tape. It's not vinyl or anything. Vinyl would probably work better and it'll last longer, but I didn't have any, and I got 3 rolls of this stuff for $8 off of Amazon, I think it was. So basically all you do is you just take this vinyl masking tape, you find a rivet row, and you center it down the rivet row as best you can, and just push it down. And you pretty much just do this the whole way on everything. So I'll do a couple span-wise here, and then we'll get some on the cord. And this stuff actually doesn't stick all that great, but it sticks good enough. You got to kind of stick it on there fairly decent. And then like back here I got a panel on and a row of rivets on either side. Just going to put the seam right down the panel line as best I can. The good thing about not sticking all that great like masking tape is you can pull it right back off and it doesn't pull your rivets back out. And then I'll just double it up here on the other side. Basically just repeat this for everything until you get it all covered. And then you'll notice I got it running long up here at the top. I'm not too concerned with that. I'll just trim it once I get that top part on. But I like to do everything span-wise and then do everything cord-wise. little bit of this is still kind of experimenting, because the rudder was the first part I've ever done using this method, and it wasn't very noticeable. So this one, what I might do is I might run 2 layers of tape just to give me a little bit of extra material to make sure I don't sand all the way through it and start taking out material under it. But so far, it seems to work pretty good. It's just a matter of figuring out how much paint to remove in between. And same thing across span-wise. When I get to these areas that have the doublers and stuff, I just get regular masking tape and put over it and then just trim it with a hobby knife or scissors to the size and the shape I need. I'll probably fast forward this video here in a bit so you guys aren't just sitting here watching me go one by one by one. Gets a little monotonous and boring after a while, just watching me put tape down after tape after tape. You don't have to be precise about this, just kind of get it about where you think stuff would be. Alright, almost there. And you can see some of these spots, like right in here, that little triangle is not going to get sanded out. But still going to throw some tape in here just because you never know. I might be able to get it out of there a little bit. And I don't want to eliminate any of these rivets that are in here. A little bit extra tape won't hurt anything. And these are where doublers are, so typically doublers help stiffen up the skin joint right there. So there's less of a chance of it having any sort of waves or anything to it. Alright. Now we'll get a sharp X-Acto knife, hopefully. This one's sharp, I don't know. And we'll just sit here and trim some of these spots off. And yeah, I know some of this stuff could actually be rounded on the corners like a full-scale airplane, but at quarter scale that radius would be pretty small, so I'm not too concerned. But again, it depends on how particular you want to be about this. All up to you, because I've seen some weird repairs and stuff on airplanes, so really the only person who can tell you you're wrong is somebody who either knows the airplane better than your research or the manufacturer. And then once they leave the manufacturer, they're never ever the same. And I'm not cutting across, I'm just holding the knife over and then peeling the tape up across the knife. That way I don't score the surface that I just spent a ton of time sanding to make nice. And then some of these places here where it overlaps, we're not too concerned with it. Doesn't have to be up against the edge. It can be centered in the tape. Alright, so I am going to pause the tape, finish doing all this, do some dinner, and maybe come back a little bit later tonight and finish this video up so it can upload overnight. Because yes, that is how slow my internet is. So, stay tuned, I'll be back. Y'all have a good one. Hey YouTube, welcome back. So this is kind of a continuation to the last video that I have done, but I was basically showing you guys how to do that whole wavy surface to the vertical stab. Unfortunately, I forgot to pull out the video when I did that. So I just kind of basically talk you through it, and I'll stitch this onto that video to just make it kind of all one video instead of having multiple parts. So I got the vertical stab done. The first part of what will be this video, you saw me taping off all the rivet rows and everything. That way, none of the rivet detail got sanded away. You saw how I taped off every single thing that was a rivet row on the one half of the vertical stab. As you can see, I have done both sides already. And the reason why you see the wavy finish here, but not up here, is because I found, doing some research, that the wavy surface on the T38 vertical stabilizer really only happened down towards the lower 20 to 30% of the vertical stabilizer. And I'm guessing that's just because that's where it was hard mounted to the actual fuselage structure. So the top flapping around or moving or whatever with flight forces wavied all of this, but then up here kind of all moved together, and then maybe there was even a doubler on the spars or something. But anyway, all of that waviness was down here and not up here. So I left all of this nice and flat, put the wavy down here. So you can see how it's pretty decent on having a nice hard edge or a feathered edge on the edges. The feathered edge is basically right where the edge of the masking tape was. So pretty much everywhere that you see gray is where the edge of the masking tape was. And I just sanded off all of the primer, well not all of it, but a good bit of the primer down in between. And how I did that is I just took a little pneumatic 6-inch DA sander, and you don't hit it flat like this, because if you put it flat it's going to sand down all the paper and everything. So you want to kind of come here at an edge and just tip it on a corner or the edge of your disc and just constantly move back and forth. You can sit here and you can go different areas, different ways with it. I did this all with a 320 grit piece of paper, and you just go sand it all on edge until you get the finish or the depths of the primer sanded through. Here you can see where I even went down to some body filler, so I went all the way through the primer. And then back here, what it is, actually I left a high spot here in the middle. That way it kind of gives the panel, or this particular open bay of sheet metal, like a little wave, like a ridge to it. So this part here and that part there, and this is kind of like where it just got pushed up, and maybe put like a little hard seam or something in there, but not completely. And then I tried to make it kind of feather out to where it wasn't quite this whole area, it was just a portion of this area. So you can definitely see that with here, how it kind of comes triangular in shape towards the front and kind of propagates right here to one of the main spars. So that's how I did that. When I get around to doing the wings and the fuselage and stuff, I'll get the video camera out and I'll show more of that in depth. So until next time, y'all have a good one. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Otherwise, we'll see you back in a couple of days.